interested in magic probably since I was very, very tiny. I come from a family with who were kind of a bit weird. I mean, my friends at school used to say they were the Addams family. My grandma was an astrologer and a theosophist, and all of my parents were kind of into weird things. My dad was into dowsing and UFOs, and he used to run the palmistry stall at the school fete, and there was folk magic was part of my background, and they didn't call themselves witches. Back in the 1960s, the word witch was still kind of what you call someone as a rude name, but it was definitely there was definitely a lot of magic in my childhood. My dad bought me books that I think he thought were suitable for a child. He bought me a book on palmistry when I was quite young, and he taught me about kinds of magic that I think are quite suitable for children. And that actually includes candle magic, which is where my love of candle magic comes from, which I'll talk about later. But it really wasn't until I was in my 20s that I started to call myself a witch, and I met modern pagans, and I did Sean's course at House of the Goddess in circle work, and kind of adopted the term witch, and I joined a Wiccan coven and was initiated in that. And so, yes, it's kind of been a bit of a lifelong thing. No, actually, because I wanted something as an incentive to do more witchy stuff. I've been doing a very demanding job. I was production editor on a trade journal. I was very, very busy. I just hadn't had time to do much pagan stuff, much witchy stuff for absolutely ages. And I wanted an incentive to do more. So, and this is going back nearly 20 years now. And so I thought, well, if I start to write a blog, I've got to actually do stuff. I've got to read books and review them. I've got to go to magical places. I've got to write about spells. I've got to do all sorts of witchy things. And it was very successful. It was quite hard work at first because I was told you need to blog regularly, and you do. I think once a week is probably the minimum if you're going to write a blog. But I decided I was going to blog every day, Monday to Friday, sometimes at weekends. And at first it was quite a lot of effort. Oh my goodness, I've got to think of something to blog about tomorrow. What am I going to blog about? But it does get easier over time. It really does. Do a lot of different things from different traditions. And as I've already explained, I come from a family where there was quite a big interest in folk practices and divination and scrying. But I'm also an initiated Wiccan, and I attend an OBOD group as well, a Druid group as well. So I've got a very wide interest. Now, my own practice as a solitary, which I really am at the moment, because the people in the coven I was in moved away. So, this happens. It was absolutely lovely for a long while, but everyone moved away and it's just impossible to meet up regularly. And so as a solitary, I tend to very much go with the flow. I will do rituals when they feel right to be done, rather than necessarily on a specific pagan festival. I don't, strictly follow the Wheel of the Year, which is kind of why the book that I'm just finishing editing now, Pagan Portals, Rounding the Wheel of the Year. It's more about having a kind of day-to-day awareness of the seasons and the months, and being aware of all sorts of different festivals and customs that might be happening throughout the year, not just necessarily the modern pagan Wheel of the Year festivals, and also the flowers that bloom. And really that's where my practice is at the moment. It's a bit more fluid. I'm a bit of a lark. I get up early in the morning and I do my best work early in the morning. I know that most witches do their best work at midnight or something. I'm usually quite sleepy at midnight. So yeah, I'm really a bit of an early bird. And so I will really start doing some blogging and some writing, probably with a cup of tea before 8 o'clock in the morning. I usually spend the morning doing some writing, and I'll do some in the afternoon, but generally speaking, in the afternoon, I get on and do more practical things like, doing the laundry and the other stuff that everybody has to do. I'd say Pagan Puddle's candle magic. As I've said, I've developed a real love of candle spells really since I was young. I think there's something, well, they're very easy to do. They're probably the easiest spells to do because really, at its very basic level, all you have to do is light a candle, make a wish, and visualize it happening. But I think there's something very magical about candles. If you think about it, why do we have them in our modern world when we've got electric lights? We don't need them at a practical level, but we have them because they have a way of changing the atmosphere in a room and making all things seem possible. You light a candle if you're telling spooky stories. You light a candle to make a dinner a romantic meal. You might light them in the bathroom to turn your bathroom into a spa. And so they've kind of got this inherent quality of seeming to make change possible. And I really love that about candles. I actually used to, back when I was a teenager, I got into a real hobby of making candles for everyone for Christmas. I had lots of molds of different shapes and sizes, and everyone would get fancy candles for Christmas that I've made. So I've really loved candles for a long while. So I think that's my personal favourite book. I'll say Jane Meredith. I read her book Aphrodite's Magic. I think long before I started doing any work myself with Moon Books, and I just loved it. And then I read Journey to the Dark Goddess, and that is brilliant because it's I've always loved the story of Inanna and also Persephone's story of journeying to the underworld for a variety of reasons. And of course, journeying to the underworld is something fraught with dangers and risks because it's supposed to be only a place the dead go. But in both cases, these goddesses journey to the underworld and undergo all sorts of ordeals, but come back stronger and wiser. And in Persephone's case, becomes queen of the underworld and rules there for 6 months of the year, but then returns to the surface of the world in the summertime. So I love those books because they provide both books provide really practical, ritualistic ways of getting in touch with the energy and the magic of those goddesses and really engaging with the themes and the subjects that they're kind of about. So it's not just enjoying the story, it's really engaging with it, perhaps on a psychological level for personal development. Don't let them lose your art A-level work. I've always loved writing, but I also loved art. And when I was at school, I was really unsure whether I wanted to be a writer or an artist. And it was probably veering towards art. And I was always sketching, and I got a grade A at my art O-level. I got a grade A in my mock art A-level. And I failed my art A-level, even though I thought I had done my best work. But when it got to returning all the pieces of art, my pieces were not returned. And so I think somehow it got lost in transit, and that's where I failed. But I lost my confidence, and I stopped doing art for a long while. Maybe that's good, because maybe maybe I wouldn't be a writer now, but I like to think that I would have carried on with both. I would invite witches from Terry Pratchett's Discworld books. I would have Granny Weatherwax, of course, Nanny Og, and I'm hoping she would bring along some pink wobblers to serve for dessert, which are blancmanges made in a champagne flute with 2 knobs of ice cream at the bottom, and Tiffany Aching. I only 3, sadly, so Margaret Garlick could probably feel a bit left out. Write what you know and what you're passionate about. I think you can't really go far wrong there. I think I'm only allowed 1 tip, so it's going to be that. I'd offer some other advice as well, but absolutely, I think write what interests you. If you're trying to write about something that doesn't interest you, you're going to get disheartened with it, I think, very quickly.